My father, mother, sister-in-law and brother tried to kill me in what's called an honour killing. I still wake up sometimes feeling like my father has his heel digging into my throat. When I got to 14, I was horrifically raped by my father and his friends. My father watched the whole thing. From that moment, my childhood was literally ripped away from me.
Yeah, it was.
And I became a woman.
Yeah.
A very young, confused, sad woman. I believe I went through everything I went through to understand suffering.
Yes.
So that I could do something on this earth to help others.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a millionaire. I'm one already, right?
Yeah.
I want to be a billionaire so that I can build a home in every city across the world so nobody has to suffer like we did.
Yeah.
They have somewhere safe to go. I know I survived for this reason. I should not be sat here with you. I look like something out of a horror film.
The most phenomenal, beautiful human being I've ever met. I know that you're going to do everything you've said you're going to do.
It takes one person, again, to change your life. Just someone to believe in you.
And that's the code. It's that one step at a time.
Yeah.
Amazing. That word is overused, amazing, but in this case, it's absolutely 100%
Thanks
true.
so much. If you're hurting, I'm going to say, take my hand, let me help you right now.
I love that. Wow. So many people get so much from this. Hi, and welcome to this incredibly important episode of The New Mind. Now, you may have seen Nina's story. It's been viewed millions and millions of times. But I came across Nina some time ago and I reached out to her fully thinking that she would say no, actually, because she's done so many podcasts now. But her story captivated me, it touched me, and I wanted to speak to Nina. And I wanted to share Nina with you all because she is the most incredible person I've ever met. And it's been an absolute honour and privilege to meet her. I've never met a woman like her, and I've never met a person like her. Nina has got a heartbreaking story, but she has literally turned her pain into more power than I could ever put into words. She has done things with her life and is still continuing to do things with her life, which are saving other people. And that is no light statement. Nina has got a story that covers all forms of abuse. She was basically a modern day slave within her own family. She was raped by her father. She was also gang raped while her father watched. Her family then arranged to have her killed. But Nina survived that horrendous event and she found a way to survive her entire existence. She was forced to marry one of her rapists, and then she spent a very long time in a very abusive relationship. Today, Nina is here to tell us a bit about her story, but she's also here to show us how we can survive, how we can thrive, and how we can be happy again. Please, please take your time to listen to Nina's story. She really is the most incredible person I've ever met. Thank you. Enjoy the show. Okay, so I've just introduced you and your story, which for those of you that have followed, so those of the listeners that have followed you, they're going to have heard you talk about your story in depth before. But today I know that really you want to take the story a bit further and talk about where you are now a bit more, because I understand that you've told this story so many times. It's difficult because when you're telling the story, you're doing it for the right reason. But when you tell it so many times, it also becomes quite difficult to keep telling all the details. Your story is probably more unusual than most in the fact that it was your father that raped you and you were gang raped as well. But then the honour killing side of it, it's so layered and it's so different to the, I don't want to say the average story we hear about sexual assault, but there's so much more to it. And I think for that reason, I need to let you lead the way, really. And things that we need to focus on is, I mean, anyone that's seen you talk will know that you're coaching MMA fighters and UFC fighters now. You're very entrepreneurial. you're very determined and passionate about what you're doing, and yet there's this whole history of trauma, and a lot of people can't get their heads around how you've managed to do that. But equally, why you tell the story, because it is very harrowing. So where do you want to start with that?
Well, we'll start from the beginning, as we normally do.
Yeah.
So I wasn't this person, obviously, when I was little. It only dawned on me the other day that, truthfully, everyone has been trying to kill me all of my life.
Yeah.
And it really upset me. And I think I had a few dark days, which I'm not scared to say out loud, because we all have them. It's just often we pretend we don't have them, or we don't want other people to see that. And I know on my social media presence, people don't always see a positive me, because I do have PTSD. Sorry to say that again. So I do have PTSD. Naturally, I'm going to have it, and it rears its ugly head, or good head, however you want to see it, every now and then, just to remind me that, hey, Nina, slow down. You have been through a lot.
Yeah.
And you need to acknowledge sometimes that little Nina just needs a bit of quiet time and love. And I think that's where I've got to with telling my story. I've told it so many times. I'm constantly crossing these timelines to go back to the 14-year-old self, the 6-year-old self, the 21-year-old self, and that, you know, that woman, that young woman that was never treated with love or respect, to bring me to where I am. And so at the beginning, I'm actually born in the United Kingdom. People think, well, this must have happened in India or Pakistan or in some faraway land, but not so far from here. Leicester's not too far from here. And I was born into a family who are but they came from India when Britain was calling a lot of people to help them to rebuild the economy, basically. So they were invited. I want to say that really clearly. So I am the daughter of an immigrant, admittedly, but I am born and raised in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
All of this happened in the United Kingdom. I am not Muslim. I have nothing against Muslims, but that's one of the most common things, you know, that people comment. They don't look at why is she telling the story, and let's give her some compassion.
Yeah.
And other victims' compassion. What can we do to help those victims instead of trying to focus on something just because of the colour of my skin?
Yeah. It's not needed.
It's not needed. And I try to explain to people, because I am compassionate. I do want them to understand, because like I say, my non-profit, which I've, founded with my daughter and a friend and another friend, we don't turn anybody away. It doesn't matter what colour of skin, who you are, how tall you are, how short you are, how fat you are, how thin you are. It does not matter. If you're hurting, I'm going to say, take my hand, let me help you right now.
I love that because, like you say, there's a lot of assumptions made. People do judge within the first few seconds, don't they? So
within 7 seconds, people have made an assumption of you, whether they're going to like you, dislike you, support you, not support you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not here for that. I'm here, like I said, and you said, my story is quite unusual. It's actually not unusual. In the South Asian community, I get messages every day of something similar. So they might not have had everything happen to them, but pain is pain, trauma is trauma.
True.
It doesn't matter how small of a trauma you think you've had, you've still suffered.
Yeah.
So I believe I went through everything I went through to understand suffering.
Yes.
So that I could do something on this earth to help others.
Yeah.
But from a young age, I wasn't wanted. I was that unwanted child. I was a girl. Everyone wants boys in my culture. They still want boys. It's still going on, And, I was described as a witch because my mother and father thought I was possessed by some evil entity. So I wasn't treated well. By the age of 6, I was a modern day slave. And what does that mean? That means I didn't understand what it meant. I thought that was normality. But what it means is you're not allowed to engage or sit and eat with your family or watch television with them or go on outings with them. You are restricted to coming out of your room. You are only called out when you're needed. And your jobs all entail cleaning or cooking or some sort of domestic servitude, which is exactly what I was doing from a really young age, and understanding that my favourite thing when I was a child was this crate that my father brought. And it meant that I could stand on top of it and cook quicker. And people, when they come around to my house, they say, well, you made that really quickly. And I say, well, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It goes with you, it follows you through life. But I just wasn't loved. I just wasn't shown affection. And a lot of people say to me now that come to me for help that, well, my mum was very cold. My mum's narcissistic. And I don't think parents often understand how much that's going to affect the child going forward. And you base yourself on those first few years of your life. And that teaches you who you are because we're sponges. We're taking information from everyone else. That's all I ever did. When I got to 14, I was sadly very horrifically raped by my father and his friends. And only recently, whilst having a discussion with an authority, I understood that my father watched the whole thing. You know, I didn't think about it until literally 2 weeks ago when I was discussing it. And I realised that after he had raped me, he was the first one to rape me, and everybody else was raping me or sexually abusing me. He was sat in the same place as he always was. So that really hurt, because this is the man that, like you've said before, he's your father.
Yeah.
He's the authority. He's the one that you look up to. He's the one that is supposed to protect you.
He's your first impression of how you're supposed to be treated by a man.
Exactly.
And if your father treats you as though you're worthless, because that is treating you that way, I mean, in many ways in your home, but, you know, specifically around raping you as well, and allowing people to do the same to you, then you have to do so much work if you're capable of doing that. Because, you know, you said you feel that, you know, you were meant to learn about suffering in order to pay that forward and to be the support and the love that you are in the world. But you have to be a certain kind of character to be able to come back from that. And there isn't like a straightforward answer for that either.
No, there isn't.
And we will talk about that in this episode.
I mean, you know, I understand he's done wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning his behaviour.
No.
And it hurts. It still hurts.
Of course.
Because I was a child.
Yeah.
But from that moment, my childhood was literally ripped away from me.
Yeah, it was.
And I became a woman.
Yeah.
A very young, confused, sad woman. But it was just taken. And I think that, again, is something that doesn't really leave you. Also, he taught me that sex and violence go hand in hand.
Of course.
Which you then think is normality, which it never is.
No.
So after the rape, I got pregnant and I had to have an abortion. And because I became spoilt, as my parents described me, I couldn't have an arranged marriage. The difference between an arranged marriage and a forced marriage is they show you suitors, and then you get to not really choose, but you get to maybe say yes or no.
You're involved in the process.
You're involved, yeah, that's a really good way to put it. But I had a forced child marriage. So by the age of 15, after the abortion, one of the rapists came forward and had a solution to my father's problems, which was how to get rid of me, whilst everybody in the community thought it was normality. As they say, nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors.
True.
And this sham wedding took place where I was engaged to somebody similar age to me, but he had nothing to do with me. He had a girlfriend who was white British, but they didn't like that because the community don't agree with that. So from the outside world, I had a love marriage almost, because I was young. But by 15, the trade was done. And when I say a trade, it wasn't a dowry. It was more of a trade to keep a secret.
Yeah.
My father paid him thousands and thousands of pounds. We're going back a long time ago because I'm 55 now. So we're going back.
By the way, you're incredible to look at for 55. I would never have guessed that. I have to give you that compliment because that's insane.
But yeah, so money exchanged hands, gold, we'd give a lot of gold in our culture, gold exchanged hands. And, you know, my father literally in front of me said to him, you can have her as your sex slave. And he said, my mum said to the wife, my new mother-in-law that was going to be, you can have her as a servant because that's what she does here. And I sat there and I look at the photos. I've got a few photos and I really want to sort of grab this child out of the photos, got her head down and she looks so sad, and say, it's going to be all right. Just stay strong. This is your path. It's going to be okay. But I know it's not going to be all right realistically, because then I endured 4 to 5 years of sexual abuse. You know, we started off with me having a bed underneath the stairs. It was a tiny little space. They moved me into another room downstairs because it was bigger. It was a spare room they had as like a guest room. But I ended up moving there because my father-in-law wanted more space to rape me and for the torture to continue. And I got to the point where I just hated who I was. And I never use the word hate. If you look in any of my videos, all 100 of them, I don't use that word. But you always get to a point in life, I think, that you just don't like yourself anymore.
Yeah.
You get to that point. It's like life is pushing you to make that change, that uncomfortable change that you don't want to make.
Yes.
And the only thing I knew to do was to go home, because in my culture we're taught, don't go to the police, don't speak to anybody out of the culture. It's a sin. It's a taboo. If you talk about people, shame will come upon us. It's called izzat. And, you know, my parents really drilled it into me from a young age that as the girl, I held almost all of their honour in my hands, in my behaviour. And from a young age, I was that good girl. I did everything so that people could never point at my parents and say, your daughter's terrible. They would only say, what a beautiful girl you have, what a good girl you have. Good girl is like a huge compliment.
Yeah.
But when I turned up after leaving this forced child marriage, these years of abuse, these years of torture, my father and mother, sister-in-law and brother tried to kill me in what's called an honour killing. So it was an attempted honour killing. It's not a beating because you've done something they don't like. They have intentions to kill.
Yeah.
You know, and I still wake up sometimes feeling like my father has his heel digging into my throat, because that's what he was doing. And at that point, I know I wasn't here on this earth.
Yes.
I know I kind of whooshed, I was away. And I remember looking back, and I say this to people because I want them to understand that life's so precious. Every day I wake up and I say, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for being here. You know, I make my bed as soon as I'm up, and I'm just so thankful, so thankful that I'm still alive, because I shouldn't be. But because this happened to me and I escaped, I ended up with somebody who was Nigerian. He was actually the friend of one of my friends, but they had split up. And he gave me a place to stay, but not in a hero kind of way. He was charging me rent, and I didn't realise I was paying all of the rent myself.
Oh, my life.
Because you don't learn about money. You don't learn about finances. My parents didn't teach me how to manage money. They taught me about money. I saw money coming in that house, left, right and centre, thinking money's part of my life, which I think is why I have the mentality. People don't want to talk about money. They almost go quiet.
You're very, very right on that. Yeah, it's a very important thing to talk about, though.
But I saw that having money, my father was able to have this huge house with these huge staircase, with big rooms. You know, my rooms were big. And then I'd gone into this house with tiny little rooms, and I felt almost claustrophobic being there sometimes. Yeah. But those 4 years were terrible. I went back, survived the honour killing. I got out because I put my mind to getting out. And I think that's the crucial part of why I am a mindset coach. Because when everything's broken in your body, when your body gives up, when your body is saying, I can't do this, there's only one thing that's going to get you out of that situation. It's what you believe.
It's absolutely true.
And as they say, you are what you believe. You can achieve what you believe. And as the saying goes, and I managed to get off that floor with, yes, it sounds like a fictional tale, but with bones broken, with my jaw was broken, my arm was broken, my hip was displaced. I had a bone protruding out of my skin. It was just waiting to cut through.
I mean, it makes no sense. No, this going back to the point, I just want to remind the viewers and the listeners that perhaps didn't pay so much attention when I said this before. You literally are the coach to UFC and MMA. I can't even say
MMA.
MMA. It's a lot of M's. Because I don't think anybody, until they've been in that position, can imagine how the heck you do that. It seems impossible. It does seem impossible, but like you said, your primitive self, your limbic system, everything came together to get you out of that situation.
It's a fight or flight.
It really is.
I knew if I stayed, I would be killed. You know, I knew that I only had time. There was only time. That was the only thing between me escaping and staying was time.
Do you believe in God?
No.
What do you believe in? What do you believe gives? I mean,
I believed in God. You know, let's just cover that very quickly. When I was a child, because no one spoke to me, I was in my room all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I was away with the fairies, literally one of those daydreamers.
Yeah.
And I read the Testament, New Testament. I read the Bible. I read the Quran. I read my religious book, which is my parents', which is the Guru Granth Sahib, which is like a Sikh with Sikhs.
Okay.
Punjabi. I read the Gita, which is Hindus. I read all about Marxism, Taoism. I did the whole read.
You must be the most well-read person in history.
Well, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
But I was looking for answers. I was looking to belong to somebody. I was looking to figure out why these things were happening, and I kind of created my own little religion in my head.
Yeah.
By the age of, I think it was probably 15, 16, I'd created my own little religion, because all of these textbooks tell you to be a good person, right?
Yes, they do.
Not to hurt anyone, to love everyone, to forgive people. One of the books, I won't mention which one and which one doesn't, but I do know it, but I won't say it. I don't want the controversy.
Yeah.
But one of them says God tests the ones he loves the most. And I took that bit away from that religious text.
Yeah.
From the Bible, love thy neighbour as you love yourself. You know, and I realised you can't love anybody until you do love yourself.
That's so
But that
true.
came later in life. Yeah. I thought I was loving, but I was actually just giving. I was a people pleaser.
Yeah.
But I believe in the universe. I believe that we're created for a reason. I believe that I believe in the game of life, that I'm playing this game of life. And I know it sounds all weird, but I'm put on this, it's like a snakes and ladders kind of board. And a lot of people get pulled in by filters, Snapchat filters. And then they can't take a photo of themselves without the filter.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I did it myself. And I didn't understand until I fell in love with me that I didn't need those filters.
No.
But I think this system that we're in, this game we're in, throws things at us constantly, like the snakes, and they are to put you off track.
It's funny you say
alcohol, drugs, all these sort of things, but drugs is slightly different because psychedelics are kind of not against them
if they're used in the right way.
If they're used in the right way, but I do believe there's a lot of distractions. Relationships now have suffered because they're so easy to access people.
Yes.
There's no way of knowing nobody knows how to commit or to be an honest person but they don't want to be hurt either, but they want to do what they want to do. So
oh gosh, you're so right.
It's a real difficult dynamic, but all of these social media things, all of these filters, all of these things that have been thrown in have destroyed people's confidence, have destroyed people's abilities to see how beautiful an individual they are, because they all want to look like somebody like Kim Kardashian or something.
And they all look the same.
They do look the same,
yeah.
Which is it's very sad, because one of the things I say to people is that you don't have to be perfect to be you. And that's the beauty of you.
And you don't have to be perfect to be beautiful either.
Not at all.
Because you are beautiful.
I didn't get it. I was always told I was fat, I was ugly, I was stupid. My ex-partner for 23 years, going back to the timeline.
Of course.
He was very derogative, and he always told me I was stupid. I was running businesses. I'd set up a business selling mobile phones in my house.
Wow.
While my daughter was in her little baby walker running around, people would come in. They didn't bother. They didn't mind. But I did so well within the flat. It was a flat, actually, that I moved into a shop. Ended up buying the shop in the town centre, Market Harbour, which is about half an hour from here.
I love Market Harbour.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful
That's where I lived for
centre.
23 years, yeah. My children were all brought up there. I had a son, and life just got busy. I put them in the best nurseries because I knew networking. I'd already worked out networking before it was a thing.
Yeah.
Knew that if I spoke to people just with kindness, just being me, not pretending, not wanting anything, but letting them know who I am and what I do.
Yeah.
Because then they can come to you. But how are you going to sell anything? How are you ever going to give somebody a service or provide that service if you don't tell them what you're doing?
It's very, very true.
It doesn't just come to you.
No, it doesn't. You've got to work really, really hard. I think this is the bit that's misunderstood. I mean, I don't want to come too away from your timeline, but essentially, you're a speaker and you're globally recognised in what you do. And I think people just go, well, she's told her story and it's gone viral and suddenly she's really, really busy. No, my friends. This is a lifelong work.
We will definitely cover that.
Yeah, it's really important.
Market Harbour was a nice place to live, but I suffered from verbal abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse. I was a millionaire quite quickly. By the age of 30, I had my 3 children. I'd lost a baby in between from domestic violence, and I realised now domestic violence killed him. It was the cause of his death. Sadly, it's hard to prove things later on, but at the time you stay quiet because there's a comfort in staying quiet. You're safe almost by not opening that can of worms. But along the lines, my whole life I've been let down by people, and I never recognised that. I always took it on myself that this is happening to me because I'm not
you're
worthy.
Bad. Because you're bad, you deserve it.
I'm just bad. Yeah, I'm evil. My parents told me. My ex-partner told me that it can't be everybody else. It can't be everyone else. You're the common denominator. It has to be you.
How often do you hear this? And I've heard this, it's always somebody else, isn't it?
Yeah.
That phrase, like, you never take responsibility and you become the scapegoat because you're the person that they want everybody to notice. They don't want anyone to look at them and what they're doing. So that isn't a common
but
narrative.
I can remember my ex-partner having a conversation, and there's 4 of us in the room, and he's saying that he set my pillow on fire, and they didn't flinch. So then you think to yourself, maybe it's not a big deal because nobody else is making a deal of it, until somebody later on, like now, has sat me down. I've been sat down by a few people and they've said, Nina, this is modern day slavery. Forced marriage is modern day slavery. It's trafficking. Sometimes we need that. We need someone to actually just make it black and white and just be really direct with it.
And to be shocked, because when you live that,
you don't want to acknowledge it a lot.
No,
of the
you
time.
Don't want to, but also you mentioned the early formative years there and how you're forming your view of yourself and the world around you and safety and all of those things. And actually, it's really important to say this, is that there is no such thing as normal. We know that. But what I will say is, you don't know anything outside of that. Your brain isn't fully developed until 25. The bit that does the logic and the analysis and all the important executive bits. So until the age of 25, you've got this consistent. And I know you said trauma is trauma and people suffer, and I say that to people too. When people say, "Oh, but," and they do say yours is worse because yours was sexual abuse. That it's like people categorize abuse as worse. And I'm thinking, if you've been locked in a cupboard and beaten black and blue for years, how can you say that sexual abuse is worse? Because people aren't educated enough on what abuse does to the brain and the body system. But if someone is saying, "I set her pillow on fire," and everyone's just going, "Oh," and no one's telling you this is wrong, you don't have much of a foundation.
Or telling him, why did you do that? The reaction should have been, "What have you done?"
Yes, and Nina, let's get you out of here very quickly.
Yeah. But they didn't, and that made me think it must be me. It must be me. It can't be anybody else. It has to be me.
Yeah.
But that went on, and I became homeless 10 years ago in September. 10 years ago.
Wow.
And with my son, my youngest son, I've got 3 children. And he was with me because my daughter had gone to university. My other son, I sent him to boarding school because he'd been hit by his father.
Right.
And the atmosphere in the house was so tense. I was waiting for another argument or something to start between the two of them, and I didn't want my child to be hurt.
Yeah.
So I thought, because I had a very warped sense of reality then and understanding, I'll send him away. I'll send him to boarding school. I can find the money by, getting a few more jobs, and I'll make it happen. Not understanding I'm not really resolving the situation. Also, my other son's there and he's at risk. And then my youngest son became very sick because stress is a killer, as we all know. We've heard that phrase, but it really is. And I would say to anybody listening right now, the domestic violence is causing your children to be sick.
Yes, it's absolutely true. Their whole system, and you look at girls that are stressed now. I read something earlier. I know we're talking about your son, but I read something earlier that teenage girls now are having more iron infusions than ever before, and we need to get to the root cause. And it's often stress, be that because of lifestyle, be that because of what's going on in the home. But if you're suffering domestic abuse in any way, shape, or form, it does lower the immune barrier. It does, because your body's having to do so much more to stay alive. It's constantly in fight, flight, cortisol, adrenaline. It takes its toll, and the immune barrier gets broken down. And in time, viruses are you're going to see a lot more sickness in your child, and that's a long-reaching
And the ironic
effects.
thing about this is I stayed because of my children.
Yeah,
That's what I told
know,
myself. And
I
so
know.
many women stay because they say they're staying for their child, for them to have a place to stay. But you don't realise, women don't realise, or men even, because I do deal with men as well. Men and women don't realise how strong they are, how able they are, because they're told they're not. So you believe what you're told, and that's the massive thing. And I didn't start living. I didn't start living really. I was around. I was like floating almost.
Dissociated.
Yeah, but I really started to live from the age of 50 when I remember, I was watching all these videos about manifestation. I'd been forced to leave the area by a court in Leicester saying, "Look, we can't protect you. You're going to have to move." And I thought, why do I have to go? Why do I want to leave? It's my area and my friends. I didn't really have many friends, if I'm being honest, but it just felt familiar. And it's very difficult to leave something familiar. But that's
really
where
is.
you grow. That's where you grow. When you step out of the norm, that's where you become who you're supposed to be, because you're suddenly in a difficult situation, uncomfortable situation, and you've got no option but to grow.
It's a bit like, Leicester or Market Harbour, wherever it was specifically, was your chrysalis.
Yeah.
And then the butterfly moment happens at 50.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just remember standing in the garden. I talk about it a lot because I was grounding. I looked up to the sky, as I always did, reciting what I was taught by a video, that I want to be tall. And I remember saying to myself, this is stupid. Why are you saying this? Because everyone called me short in the family, because my parents, they're tall. My mum's about 6 foot. My brothers are 6 foot. They're big people, tall people. And I felt like the little, the misfit. And I said, actually, I don't really want to be tall. I sort of realised, I caught myself. I teach this to people now, to catch yourself when that thought starts to come into your mind, because it stops you, that roller coaster of emotions taking over.
Yeah.
But I started to understand that, actually, Nina, you've done nothing but be good all of your life. You've given all of your life. You've been kind to people. You're a good mother. You are, with what you've had, you have given these children as much love, and that's all I had. But I suddenly felt it was almost like the sun had come up suddenly. You know, when you're standing in the garden, standing in an outside place,
Yeah.
and it's a cloudy day, but the sun suddenly comes and you get that warmth on your skin. And
Yeah.
I just felt such a glow within, and I felt very loved, and I felt I was that love. And I was laughing to myself. You know, if anybody saw me, they probably thought I was crazy. But I did a little dance, you know, back to the house, and things just changed. It was almost like a moment of awakening, as it's called. But it really was.
Why do you think, I mean, specifically, obviously you'd come to the point where you weren't safe to stay where you were.
Yeah.
So there was no choice.
I had no choice.
And it's in that moment for a lot of people, they call it rock bottom sometimes, where there's a lack of choice, where the higher self, and that's why I asked about God, but the higher self, which is an energy, it's almost like the unconscious is waiting for you to see.
Yeah.
And so I always say the universe, God, whatever you believe in, doesn't throw anything at you that you're not supposed to experience.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it was that moment where you were able to go, okay, now it's time for the butterfly.
I've seen it in so many victims that have come forward and survivors, that they've been through sexual abuse, family members have abused them, nobody's believed them, the shame. I've seen it with victims of forced marriages, honour killing attempts, and they haven't found themselves because they're putting one foot in front of the other still, and they're still in surviving mode.
Yeah.
The reason it worked for me is I let a lot of it go, and I did that from a young child. You know, I never held on to things too long. Does it hurt? Yes. Does it sometimes wake me up at night? Yes. But when I talk about it a lot, of course it does. But most of the time I'm good. You know, I would say 80% of the time I'm a happy individual that's getting on with doing things.
Because you broke the loop. And there's something to be said for that. And I'm going to say something maybe controversial, and it's not meant to be with a lack of compassion or anything. But I would say that I am somewhat dissociated at times when I'm telling my story, because I couldn't keep telling it if I wasn't. And also because I've chosen actively not to stay in the loop of victim.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, I believe we all have to go through the victim experience to become a survivor. What I remember very clearly is when the story was out for me, is everyone kept telling me I was a survivor, and I really felt like a victim. And I wanted the opportunity to feel the sadness for myself. I wanted the opportunity to move it through my body, to go the full loop and then exit the loop. But everybody was trying to force me into this survivor, and I wasn't ready for it yet. So what ended up happening is I ended up internalizing the aggressor and self-harming and suicidal ideations and all that sort of thing. And then I realized that if I could feel sorry for the little girl that I'd been, the one that missed out on so much because she didn't get what we perceive other children have, then if I could feel sorry for her and embrace her and love her, I was actually loving myself. And that was the moment. But it meant that I needed to complete the loop and then exit the loop, not stay stuck in the loop. And I think sometimes narrative, and hearing women talk in this way, especially you, hearing the narrative that someone has broken through the chrysalis, grown their wings, created a brand new life, pretty much on their own, in your case and in many other cases, after horrendous, constant, chronic trauma, you broke a loop. And I know that you still have to loop back to it when you're telling the story, but I would imagine that you're telling the story with the goal in mind of reaching others.
I was going to say, when most of the videos I'm crying.
Yeah.
I don't tell the story from now. I tell the story as my 14-year-old self.
Yes, you do, yeah.
And I tell it in descriptive form, because the only way that I feel I can help somebody is being completely honest.
Yeah, it's really hard to do that.
I bring really vulnerably, I bring back those emotions, and I'm back in that room with my offenders, with my father, with the aggressors, with the violence, with the actions, with the biting and the rape. You know, I take myself there, not necessarily by choice, but it's the only way I know how to do it. Yeah. Because people with me have connected through feelings first, and they feel it. And I feel I respect a victim of rape or domestic violence or homelessness, whatever the case may be, if I'm honest. And I don't do this thing, whereas not you, but a lot of people kind of like just go over it. Oh yeah, well, I got hit. Yes. No, you didn't get hit. You were held down. You were forced. You were throttled, you were punched and it hurt. He ripped your skin, you had blood on your face.
Yeah.
I had it. So I say it from the heart.
Yeah.
I say it with conviction. I say it with intention so people are respected that have gone through it, and I'm not minimizing their pain.
Yeah.
I say it with the intention for people to understand how this actually feels.
Yeah.
And why we have to do everything within our possible ability to help another person, because we are here for that reason. I know we are here on this earth for that reason. And the universe will provide you with all of the things you need when you're on the right path. And yes, I am globally recognized. You know, I've just had an invitation from the mayor of Puerto Rico to attend his residence to speak at an event, and the local universities in Puerto Rico. And I'm going literally in a couple of weeks.
That's amazing.
But how have I got that? People don't see the other side of Nina that has sent continuously, not now, I'm not doing it now, but the first 3 years, I didn't do anything but eat, sleep and breathe this, my passion.
Yeah.
You know, I could have sat back and just been a coach to fighters. I'm getting paid enough. I didn't need to do anything else. I'm living a comfortable life. All my children have brand new cars. What do I need to do? You know, what do I need to do? I'm living well. But that was never my why. My why was the suffering that I'd gone through for me to leave the world a better place than I found it. For someone else never to have to struggle the way I did. For someone to say, I want to be like her. She did it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
Not because of my face, not because of ego. You know, I'm proud of what I've achieved, but it's taken hard work to get there. You know, to stand on stages, to be vulnerable with all those eyes looking at me.
It's scary. I struggle. I've done it a couple of times and I struggle. It's something I need to get better at, because nobody would know how much I struggle, but I find all eyes on me incredibly difficult. I really do.
Well, my TED talk, I'd been threatened a couple of days before my TED talk. I was given a TED talk, but somebody from the community was literally trying to track me down. It was a really dangerous time. I think my son went to stay with my daughter. I went to Ireland early with a bodyguard, a friend of mine, and he said, look, I'll keep you safe.
Oh my good God.
I remember the TED talk very clearly. I'm standing, I'm shaking, my voice is quivering. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I knew roughly what I was going to say, but it meant so much because at last I had a voice. I wanted to share this, not for myself. It's never been about me or you. It's been about somebody else that needs us, the other Ninas, the other Ellas that are out there.
Yeah, that's so true.
And if we don't do that, then we haven't learned anything from this existence or the pain. We've not learned our real reason for being here.
Yeah.
And I believe when I play this game of life, because I've done everything literally the way I'm supposed to do it, I'm not coming back. But somebody somewhere is going to keep coming back, because they haven't learned that when you suffer, and there's something out of that suffering that you need to share with everyone, not for ego, not for fame, not for money. And I don't get paid. You know, with my non-profit, I fund it. My daughter, she is the co-founder. She funds it. We don't go to the government and say, hey, we need a grant like a lot of people do and pay ourselves. We're all volunteers. But every girl that I rescue costs me £400 to £500, and I need help sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a position where I get a call from the police. We've had calls from the police and they say, come and help us to get this girl. And I'm thinking, have I got enough money? Of course I'm going to use money. I'll use my own credit card if I have to. I'm not going to let a child suffer. But nothing's going to change if I don't do these things. Now, those girls will go off at some point and say, I want to do what Nina did for us. I teach them about kindness. We have support groups. We teach them if someone's on the bus and they've got a baby crying and you can hear that baby crying, instead of sitting there going, wish that baby would shut up.
Help.
Go over and say, hey, do you need a hand? What can I do for you? That is the ultimate question.
And that is basically community. It's really about connection, isn't it? And seeing other people, not through the eyes of, because so many of us do this, we look through the eyes of judgment, and it is a projection. It's usually a projection of some form of aggression or bullying or abuse that we've received ourselves, and it's so unconscious a lot of the time. So I feel like when you're doing that with them, you're making them conscious of a wider perspective.
I just feel that when people find their why, when they start being of service to others, they'll find a different kind of love within.
Yeah, it's true.
It grows and grows and grows, and it becomes so magical that it's almost like, you know, it's dust, magic, fairy dust. You sprinkle on everyone.
It is. It feeds you.
I almost see myself, and I've said it before, as a love letter. That if I give you this love letter, you're going to read it and see so many amazing things about you that I've written because I see through my eyes from the outside. And then you'll feel better. You'll want to be better because suddenly someone's saying to you, Ella, you're amazing. You're making a huge difference in this on this earth, keep doing it, and it'll encourage you.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think what's interesting is, do you ever feel that there might be an ancestral link for you somewhere where there was a woman before that had to go through something? You've got that epigenetic expression.
I said to somebody recently, not long ago, I said, I'm really happy that my daughter was born because she's going to break that generational trauma.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
But it's not to do with my daughter, it's me.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't realise that I broke it.
Yeah.
I was the one who spoke out.
Yeah.
My daughter's life is her life, but I broke that trauma. But I'm going to teach her how she should also be spoken to, addressed, how other men should treat her, how other women should treat her, because now she's looking at me as her role model as a parent. That's what parents' jobs are, to teach their children how to be a great human being. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
But really breaking the generational trauma or curse, as people call it, is down to you, down to the other person. It's never down to your children.
No. We have to lay the foundations, and we have to be really vulnerable as parents. I mean, I talk about this often with my daughter, and I've definitely made mistakes because there's been times, but especially when she was younger, that I would have been still in a very maladaptive nervous system response at times, like you were talking about the chronic PTSD, and it does manifest in emotional dysregulation sometimes. And for me, it was suicidal ideations a lot. I mean, she wouldn't necessarily know that, but obviously energy is energy, so they pick up on it. But I'm always very much like, please tell me anything you need to say, like anything you need to say about where you feel I've gone wrong. Don't hold it in. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's understand it together. And I think that's so important.
See, my son, being a mother to 2 boys as well, has not been the easiest thing because their father wasn't really present. He was never really there. He was always away, or he was in and out the house. I didn't really see what was happening because that's how my dad was. There was no love. There was no dating, holding hands. You know, can I have your number? Can I take you out? None of that. It was just, I ended up with him because he rang me, and I ended up with my daughter, which was the best thing that ever happened in my life, by the way. But my son said to me not long ago, my son Arjun, he's a doctor. He said to me, you know, Mum, I know you've tried to be our grandparents and our aunties and uncles you've tried to be a dad and a mum, but all you have to be is a mum, because there's only so much you can do. And it took him and his understanding to tell me that I was doing enough, because often if you're in a situation like my own, you feel you're not doing enough. So you try and compensate for them not to have that extended family. You try and compensate for them not to have that, like yourself, you know, the grandparents sort of thing. But because I know you don't talk to your parents.
No, I
so
don't talk to
you're in the same situation in that
Yeah.
sense, that, you know, you think that maybe if they did have or you see other people with their grandfather and grandmother
and all of their cousins,
and you feel guilty. So you think, well, but actually our children are a lot more aware of things than we realise. We've got to stop feeling that guilt. We've got to stop feeling we're not doing enough, because we can only do what we can do. And I think whoever's listening, if they feel they're not doing enough as a parent or as a partner, you have to understand that you're doing as much as you can possibly do.
Do you feel, because that's a really powerful point you've made about releasing guilt, letting go. I mean, you said about letting go before, and you have to kind of let go of a lot of the constructs that were thrust upon you, really. You know, for you being forced to basically be, like you say, a modern slave, being raped, falling pregnant, going through years of domestic violence following that as well, and so many things. Do you feel there's a code? I mean, again, going back to your work with the fighters, but your speaking engagements, your non-profit organisation, supporting and helping others that have gone through similar events. Do you feel there's a code? We spoke about the loop earlier and stopping the loop. We spoke about mindfulness, manifestation. Are there steps that you personally follow daily or regularly that help you stay in the zone?
You see, I've always been an overachiever in the sense of I want to do more, not understanding I was trying to please my parents. Or, I mean, the reason I created such a massive portfolio when I was younger with my children and ex-partner was because I was hoping one day my father would come along and see what I've done. And I could say, Dad, I'm as good as the boys. It doesn't matter.
That's the Tony Robbins thing, isn't it? When he says, and I often fight with this idea, and he says, you know, who is it that's hurt you? Use that as your power to push forward.
I wasn't using it as power. I wanted actually genuinely to see him one day and say, Dad, look what I've done.
Yeah.
My father owns a lot of property. I went into commercial property. He owns a lot of residential. So I wanted to do something different, but I wanted him one day to see me and say, she's done good. My daughter's done good. It was never going to happen, but in my little Nina daydreams, it was happening. But he pushed me to do it. He pushed me to give a better life to my children. I think you can have anything you want in the world. It's just you saying that you can't have it. People say to me now, I teach people to ask for money.
Yeah.
Because they're so scared to sort of ask for money to do with coaching, or if they're starting out, they're like, oh, I don't know what I should. But if you don't see the value in yourself, nobody else is going to see it.
No, I totally agree. You have to be willing to be open. You have to let go, and then you have to open up to possibility and opportunity. But you have to believe as you said before, you have to believe you're worthy of that first.
So I'm doing well because I believe I'm providing value.
Yeah.
Not because people are offering me whatever they're offering me. And also somebody else taught me my value. My first client, I was helping him for free to start with. It's a bit of a weird story. I won't go into it. But I became a coach because I was just in a place at the right time, and I had an honest conversation where I listened more than I spoke to people, and they thought I really got them, which I did. I get people. I've always got people. They became my clients through him, but he's the one who offered me the money first. He offered me a large amount of money per hour, and I didn't say no. I said, okay. He's telling me I'm worth this. I've invested a lot of time over the last couple of years. He's gone from France, where he was, Paris. Now he's in America. He's doing really well. He's getting paid millions for his fights.
Wow.
So he can afford this. And I'm going to, this is me. I accepted it. And there's always the give and take. If you keep giving, which is what I was doing all my life, never taking, never receiving, never allowing anyone to do anything for me, there's an imbalance in life.
Yes.
If I say to you, let's go, and you carry all the bottles of water, you're going to drop one at some point because I'm not helping you.
Yeah.
And helping is give and take.
Yeah.
So when you stop this circle, this energy it's almost like a little circle of energy where I give, you take, I give, you take. And it's just part of life. People need to understand part of life, and money comes into that.
And people actually do want to give as well.
They do.
Yeah.
It's like if I did something nice for you and you really enjoyed it, and you said, well, Nina, it's my turn, let me take you up. And I said, no. How would you feel?
Yeah.
And people have to understand that
it's a form of rejection, actually.
it is. And he was very adamant. He said to me, I'm going to give you this. And he said, I want you to say anything. I know what you like. And I stayed quiet, he taught me a lesson. People are always teaching me. I've had people gift me things, and I've said, I can't take that. I've helped you. Oh, no, you deserve it. And I'm learning to receive, and on a personal level, I'm learning to receive too. But I'm also understanding it's just the way it's supposed to be. Now, the person that I've connected with in Puerto Rico, for example, she helps people that have been trafficked. We had a really long conversation about children. When they get trafficked, they are often found at a very young age, but they don't know where they're from because they're so young, so they can't be returned to the parents. There's this particular non-profit that I support, because I support other people too. They keep these children in high education, and as in independent schooling, and it's not in this country, it's a different country. But those children then become of a high caliber job. They come back and they help the next lot of children. But it's really sad that they don't know where they're from. So I supported her because she needed someone just to listen and talk to. And we had a great long conversation, a couple of hours. But the exchange was, she came back and said to me, I spoke to the mayor, and he would love to meet you. I showed him one of your videos, and his wife actually had seen you somewhere, on a video that popped up. And I said, okay, but that's what happens. The universe just opens up things. The universe provides.
Yeah.
And I attract things all the time. I'll go home today, there'll be things in my message box saying, Nina, would you like? Nina, would you like? I can choose if I want to, and I'm not scared to say no anymore. I'm not worried about saying no, because also I know my caliber of what I provide.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying yes to everybody. It's very hard to get hold of me, but that also gives me a little bit more of I'm not one to hang around either. It's like people make this mistake of they go to an office party, they hang around, or they make themselves too available.
Oh, yeah.
Which takes away their value straight away.
Yeah, it does.
So I teach people this sort of thing, but also as myself, I have learned in the last 3 years more than I've ever learned in my whole life. But that's because I'm a different person now. You're not the same person you were 10 years ago.
And I will change. I will continue
and you were
to.
asking me what makes me do this, what steps do I take? I tell myself, what am I going to do in 6 months? What would I like to do? What haven't I done yet? Because people have said to me, oh, you've had a great year this year, Nina. You won't have a better one like this. ever again.
But that's their limited
That's
mindset.
them. I don't have a glass ceiling. One doesn't exist.
I love that.
My father taught me from a young age, money just comes to us. All I saw as a kid was money's coming through the door. My dad brings his bag of, he owned pubs. So obviously he's got cash, he's bringing money, we're counting it. My mom is counting it, put it into the little pain books that we used to have, don't have them anymore. But, you know, I saw money as a young kid, and I'm grateful, you know, as bad as my family were to me, I'm grateful for the things they did teach me. And
that takes strength. Sorry
No.
that is such a profound and important thing that you've just said. And I really want to hone in on that, because we could sit here and your story, I mean, again, we've not gone into the most amount of detail because you've told it so many times. And I'll encourage all people that want to find out more about you to go to your website, your social media, and to really just look at all the videos that you've done. But that for me is the killer point. You've been able to say, yes, some of it was absolutely horrific and it's indescribable. We'll never understand what you've gone through. Nobody ever can. It's your experience, not fully anyway, although you do allow everybody deeply into that. That moment of saying, but I am grateful for what they did give me.
I'm very grateful.
There's so many people that just don't ever get to that space. And that is the magic.
Yeah.
That is the magic.
I genuinely have taken so many lessons from my parents, you know, different things, and my brothers, you know. It's like I read so many religious texts. I took away what I wanted to take away, what connected with me. And we all know something feels right and something doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's what I've done. But I have this thing where I say to myself, what haven't I done? What would I like to do? You know, where in 6 months, what is going to make me feel happier for me in 6 months' time? What would I like to achieve? And people say, oh, you know, you recorded an award-winning show with crime investigation. That was an opportunity. You'll never get anything better in life. I smile because I think, I never knew that was happening. And again, that happened because I attracted it. Somebody had seen a video of me that somebody else had shared, not even me.
Yeah.
The amount of jobs I get from TikTok, and I'm not active on TikTok.
Yeah.
But the amount of jobs I get from TikTok, from the police, from governments, from different countries, America, come and speak, EDF Energy.
Wow.
Come and speak about stress. And I say, where did you find me? I like to ask, TikTok. And it's not my video.
No, that's the great thing about when you're doing it for the right reasons as well. You're not having to keep on churning stuff out. People will do that for you because the message is, I think, authentic.
But they'll do it, like you said, authentic. That's such a crucial word, because there's people that will do their makeup and get ready and it's, hi, it's a show.
Yeah. No, you're right. It is.
Welcome. And then they put so much, it's just, they're not being themselves.
No, you're right.
You know, how do you talk to somebody when you go to the supermarket? How do you talk to your friend when you meet them? Be that person, because that's what they want to see on that stage. That's the person they want to see. Allow them into your life. You know what? A lot of people complain my social media is messy. I don't care. Right?
I've heard that about mine actually, because there's not like there wasn't a theme to it. It was all just whatever came up.
But why? Why do I want to be generic? Why do I want to be like everybody else? I'm letting people see my life because I want them to understand that if you are a victim of domestic violence and you are worried about money right now, one of my things 5 years ago was I want to be able to go and eat out whenever I want, or I want to be able to get a takeaway whenever I want. That is happening now all the time.
Yeah,
it's a silly little thing.
But it's the experiences. People think of money as because I really want to make that point again. Like, obviously, you're not getting paid to do this today. You're giving up your time.
Yeah, I've travelled.
Yeah, you've travelled. You've kindly done that, and it's a privilege for me that you've done that. I never take that for granted because I know how valuable time is, more valuable than most things actually. But equally, you know, they'll see that you've got this lifestyle and that you do these amazing things, and some people think that you're doing, not you personally, but me, I've heard this, doing it for the wrong reasons. And no one ever knows your intention apart from you. And that's the only thing you ever have to be clear on is your own intention.
Definitely.
But actually, money brings you the experiences. It's not about material things. It's about the experiences. And if you use those experiences with good intention, which you are, then really nobody cares. On the moment that you leave this land, nobody will care about what size jeans you wore or what watch you wore. They'll care about how you made them feel.
No, definitely. I mean, I've got two things to say about money. I taught my children a standard of what they deserve.
Yes.
They went on holiday every year, maybe 3 or 4. Every time they had school break, they would be on holiday. We would spend 3 to 4 months in a beautiful place in Portugal, just playing, reading books, no television, no phones, nothing.
Wow.
It was just us being a family, playing games, communicating. I taught them that they deserve. When I moved to London, everyone said, just get a flat, a 1-bedroom flat, you'll make do, it's so expensive. I wanted a house because I came from a house in Market Harborough. I wanted a house with a garden, and that's what I did. Everyone said, it's so expensive, how will you do it? You'll find a way.
Yeah.
If you always take just enough, you'll always just have enough.
Yeah.
If you say, I want the best, what I deserve, I want comfort, you will have that.
Yeah.
You will find a way.
You will.
It's a mentality thing.
It really is.
And also I'm teaching my children, they deserve the best of things. They deserve brand new cars, so they're not having to struggle if they start or not.
Yeah.
I've been through those days. I don't want it for them.
And it's exactly how I feel. And I have this conversation a lot with people. And I think if you have a limited fixed mindset around money, there's a fear. And that fear, it sort of becomes quite an ugly energy in a conversation when you're trying to say, look, you can make money. It's not, you have to put the effort in.
Of course you do.
You know, it's not like you wake up and go, I want loads of money today.
Yeah.
I'll just wait for it to fall on me.
You can't write it on a mirror and manifest it.
No,
you
can't.
have to put an action.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that frustrates me, and you might correct me on this, is I love the job that I do. I'm here a lot in this space. And I genuinely love it. Now, I do realise that the amount of hours that I put in are extraordinarily more than other people. But it's not in the same way of me doing a job that I don't like. So I'm doing something I love. I do realise I need to collate things a bit better and gather things up a bit better. And a lot of people say, well, you can have the lifestyle that you want now. And I'm like, yeah, but I've got things that I have to complete because they're promises that I've made to other people. There's things that I have to bring together before I can have a more laid back lifestyle. But even if I had the opportunity to have a more laid back lifestyle, a bit like you, I'm always thinking about the next challenge because it brings me life. I'm not saying that it's always healthy, but I think finding that balance is a lot harder than it seems.
I think with what you've told me, you understand what you need to do.
Yes.
If you didn't, I'd be worried. You know, I'd be thinking, well, she's not really understanding the value of her downtime either.
Yes.
Because you can get lost in work. That's the reality of it. We get lost in work, we enjoy it. But because you've said it really clearly that I know what I need to do, but I need to get this out of the way. And then by this time, you're putting a timeline on it. You're putting limits on it.
Yeah.
I myself have an urgency. I don't know whether I'll be alive tomorrow. And that's not dramatic. That's because I get a lot of death threats. I have a lot of people who would like to kill me, silence me, because my community don't like how I've spoken out. I have women from my community asking me, why do you need to talk about the rape? It brings, it makes us look bad as Indians. It makes Indians look bad. And they turn their backs on me. I've spoken on stages, come off the stage, and they've all sort of just shifted so they don't make eye contact with me because they're uncomfortable. I will talk about being raped because it happened.
Yes.
Respect me, understand the pain.
Yeah.
And know there's another child out there being raped by their father.
Right now, today, every day.
And when you say, I'm going to stand up instead of turning away, then I will know that you're part of the solution, that you're a warrior like me that's standing up for those innocent children that need somebody like us.
Yeah, they do.
Instead of turning away like most mothers that I've had come to me and say, I've had children come to me and say, I told my mum and she said, don't talk about it.
Well, that's our story, isn't it? That our mothers were as involved in this as the abuse
regardless
itself.
of if they were threatened, regardless of, we know as mothers we would never. It would never
it's
happen.
inconceivable.
No. And I know that it could have been moments for my own story for my mother to show me an act of kindness. But she was angry. She was just angry with me all the time.
Do you think she was jealous?
I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know what was going through her mind. I know she suffered too with violence, but it was more verbally abusive. I never saw her physically really get hurt. My brother physically hurt her at one point. But I don't know whether it's just a preconceived cultural belief that my daughter is an inconvenience.
Well, they do call that internalizing the aggressor, and that's projection, isn't it? So she's projecting the aggressor.
But it is what it is. I'm not going to dwell on that either. Yeah. But I have tried as a mum now to make up for the type of mum that I wish I could have had, I do for my children. And I don't, I've said before, I don't buy them gifts necessarily. I buy them activities. From a young age, they've been having wild, weird experiences. My son said the other day, I'm taking my girlfriend to watch a 4DX film because you took us and we had, the chairs are moving and we were being sprayed by things. And it was a real, he remembers it. There's memories.
It's experience.
But with my story, as I was saying, there's an urgency to do things because I am threatened that tomorrow might not come. I'm
Wow.
realistic. I'm a realistic person. So my money thing, when I talk about money and people don't like it when I talk about it, is because I don't want to be a millionaire. I'm one already, right?
Yeah.
I want to be a billionaire so that I can build a home in every city across the world so nobody has to suffer like we did.
Yeah.
They have somewhere safe to go. If there's a woman who's saying 10 years from now she's homeless, I can say, go to that house. You know, if someone's out there who wants to leave a legacy, give me your home. I'm going to use it. Everything will be transparent, it'll be on black and white paper. My non-profit will give your name for that home to house women and children, the vulnerable that need a place to go.
Wow.
And I'm going to do it before
You
I
are.
leave this earth.
I can tell.
I am literally a year away from having my first one that I own, and that will be housing 6 women with their children. Can't say where it is because of safety value, but
Yeah.
my son, the one who became homeless with me, he has the same passion.
Wow.
So he's following that and he knows all about these things. So both of us and the non-profit, we are determined to get this done. So yes, I want to be a billionaire so that I can create this space for everybody, because the money, like you said, isn't going to the grave with me.
No, it's
the watches are not going to the grave with me.
No.
It's not, but I will know I've helped so many people in this lifetime that I can help. And if everybody did that little bit themselves,
That's all it takes.
then we would just change so much in this earth. But we've become so desensitized. We've become so, like you said, it's almost like we turn a blind eye. We don't want to know.
Yeah,
but
because we're all judging each other now, and that it goes full circle to where you were saying at the beginning about, well, it wasn't in the beginning, it was in the middle, about filters and everyone wanting to look the same. Because everyone wants to look the same, it's that conformity thing of, we are all looking through a very constructed lens, and we're not going back to those organic basics of pay it forward. Every day, pay something forward, because the energy that you receive, and you should never give to receive in that way,
no.
but the energy that you receive back, you know, when you just walk past someone and, you know, it might be a little old man or a little old lady, you just say good morning with a smile on your face, and their face beams at you because they're so not used to it anymore.
I found it so strange when I moved to London to start with, because Market Harbour's like that.
Of course.
We all used to say hello. It's changed now because it's become a bigger place. There's a lot more developments there, but everybody knew each other, small communities. So when I got to London, I would open a door waiting for the next person. They would just slam it.
They don't even look at you, do they?
I would say hi to people on the train. They would just be looking at me thinking, why is she talking? When I first moved, incidentally, I was a nanny. I became a nanny because I needed something to do, but I needed money as well, right?
Yeah.
And it was the most enjoyable job. I had the most adorable 3 children. They cried when I stopped working for them. But
I bet they did.
It was a temporary thing that I knew I was going to do, but I always had a vision. If you write that goal down, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I had actually said to somebody on social media, I'm going to be the best motivational female speaker and activist that you'll ever hear of. And I remember writing it to him because he sent it back to me not long ago. He said, "You were on that billboard. You are an activist." But because I care, like you said.
Yeah.
All of these charities that have set up, and I say it in every interview, and I probably shouldn't say it, but I like it. I like to be a little bit controversial sometimes and call people out, because that's who I am.
Yeah, do it.
They do not do diddly
No,
squat.
you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think we're sick of that now.
I'm tired of it because they pay themselves 6-figure salaries.
Yeah.
When I went to them for help, and I didn't want finances, I wanted somebody who looked like me that might understand my pain.
Yeah.
Just when I became viral, 25 million, 3 days, and then it went on to 60 million, that video, she sent me a message saying, "Can you post this for our charity, please?" And you know what? I don't do the talks for the police because of the money.
Yeah.
I don't do the talks for the councils because there's no money there. I'm telling you, they pay you hundreds. I deal with thousands in my, what I earned is very different to what I'm getting. But I do it because it's part of me teaching how they can help people. They're the services. So if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it, and they're going to do it not even as a survivor. Yeah. They're going to do it from a textbook or somebody they know.
Nothing worse. No one has the qualifications to talk about this unless you've actually been through it.
You said something earlier about, that we might not understand your pain, and I say that myself.
Yeah.
But you do have an understanding of a certain degree. You know how it may have felt because you have suffered.
Yeah.
You have held your hand in your heads. You have sat behind the door as a young child sobbing.
Yeah.
With nobody there, curled up into a ball.
Yeah.
Wishing somebody would just help you.
Yeah.
Someone just got it.
Yeah. Because I've said this before. I did try to tell someone once, and I retracted it because that's what children do. They go, "Oh no, it's not true, it's just a joke," or whatever. And I remember being told off, and then after my dad went to prison, I was a couple of times, and again my friend's mum called me a slag because of it, because she just assumed that I must have. And I actually, this is quite controversial. I've said this before, because love and sex is entwined when you are sexually abused in the family. When I was raped at 13 by a 20-year-old who was somebody that I knew of, you almost feel chosen. And I know that sounds like a really strange concept, but you know it's rape, but there's almost sort of like this is him choosing to rape me, so therefore it makes me a bit more special.
Did you feel that he was in his right to rape you?
Yes, because I felt like I gave out that energy.
Well, I felt the same, because when I was in this 23-year relationship, we didn't really sleep together, but he would come and rape me when it felt right for him.
Yeah.
And I would just accept it. I didn't say no. I
never screamed.
I don't want this. I never said anything. It's like people say, well, why don't you scream for help? Who was going to come and help?
It's not a film. It doesn't
Who's
work that way.
help?
Yeah, it doesn't.
You stay quiet and you close your eyes and you pretend it's not happening, and you
wait for
want
it to be.
over.
Yeah, you wait.
Over.
You wait, and
and that's actually really, really sad.
It is really sad, yeah, that you are complete. And I think not enough people realise that it doesn't look like a violent movie scene.
I had to learn to love myself in a different way.
Yes.
I loved who I am, and I still do love who I am. But my sensuality, my sexuality, my ability as a woman, my womanhood, I guess,
Yeah.
I had to learn to love my body.
Yeah.
I had to, and I watched a video, I remember, of a woman in America teaching me how to dress in a certain way that would make me feel good for me, not for anybody else, but for me.
Yeah.
But I found it very difficult because it felt wrong. It felt wrong to do that. But really, it's a natural thing to fall in love with somebody. Is natural to allow them to caress and hold you and hold your hand.
Yeah.
Not that that's happening. But, I'm saying it's a natural thing.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing.
Yeah.
But in my culture, especially, it's such a taboo about even kissing.
Yeah.
I remember that if there was a scene like that, we used to go to friends' house and my children were young and they were Indian, but if a kissing scene came on, everyone would look at the ceiling or look around until that scene went. But it's a normal behavior that we should teach our children.
We should,
there's nothing
definitely.
wrong with it.
No, it's love.
It is love. It's a form of love with respect.
With
That due respect.
Yeah.
But I had no respect for myself, and that's why I associated sex with violence. And my ex-partner told me if any man came near, he would be disgusted because you are so disgusting. And I believed that. I believed it. I think people really put thoughts into your head that are close to you that really hard to shift sometimes.
Yeah.
But then after a bit, you sort of say to yourself, oh, she was full of nonsense. He was actually full of nonsense.
But it's hard to break that, because that word disgusting has probably been the most common inner critic word I've used about myself. And I will say, and it is quite hard for people to hear, but I fantasized about self-mutilation so much because I felt so disgusting. I actually thought that if I mutilated myself, I would look better. So and it would be things like, and I've said it before, so those that listen regularly will be used to
I've
me.
heard you say it.
Yeah, about cutting things off, because I thought, well, at least that is a reason for me to, because other people just wouldn't believe me. If I was screaming wildly saying, oh, fuck, it's disgusting.
I also think there's some sort of control in causing
it is.
that pain.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly that.
And you do learn. I have a course on how to take back control, because I think it's one of the hardest things people
It really is.
Struggle with. And they say to me, well, how did you do it? How did you do it? So I put it out there.
Yeah.
But it really comes down to a simple fact of you wanting more for yourself.
Yes.
Wanting and acknowledging that these things have happened, not brushing them under the carpet, but sitting in your feelings.
Yeah.
Saying to yourself, all right, well, none of this was caused by me. I was a child. I deserved better, but I didn't get it. What am I going to do now about it? What can I do that's going to make me happier or feel better? I had a really rough week last week. I'm not going to lie. It was very dark. And I said to myself, well, what can I do? What fun activity, or what can I do? Whether it's music, to lose yourself in music.
I love music.
I remember my son used to listen to angry music, and someone said to me, why'd you let him listen to it? And I said, that's how he's feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let him listen to
let
it
him
until
lean in.
Gets it out of his system, and then he resonates with that tone of music. I'm going to allow him to listen to it.
Yeah, I understand that completely.
You have to find something, and nothing worth having comes easy. You have to put some effort into it.
Yes, you do.
So if you want to be a better person, if you want to do more for the world, if you want to do better for you, and you deserve that, you have to do something about it. I can't do it for you. You can't do it for people. You can help them. We can guide them. But ultimately, they need to stand in their truth and they need to take that ownership too.
Yeah, they do. And they need to be reminded that they're worthy of taking that, because that's the self-esteem, the self-worth and the value. That takes the longest. Once you've got that, it's almost like you accelerate, isn't it? Like you said about that moment with the sun shining on your face.
You find that.
You find it.
I've started this thing where I've started teaching people how to speak on stages, how to get paid
I've
for it.
seen that. I think that's phenomenal.
There's a reason behind it. I wanted to explain it. I have lots of messages coming through from people saying, I want to do it. I want to do it. I filter everybody. I go through a process of finding out why they want to be on that stage, because I've learnt this through hard work.
Yeah.
So it's a valuable lesson I'm going to teach you for a very minimal cost that's going to go to my non-profit. But I want change makers. I want people like myself, like you, that have hurt, that want to help somebody else save that person or teach that person what they can do so they don't go through that pain that we once did.
Yeah.
And if I can build a whole army of these warriors, that change makers, then I know they're going to also go out in this bad world and bring good into it.
Yeah.
So I've started doing this recently, but sadly, even though I have them and they are with me literally for a whole Sunday, it's very intense. I know it's intense because I'm tired by the end of it.
Yeah, I bet.
I know that maybe 1 out of the 10 that I choose will really do it.
Yeah.
Will really listen to my message, will really take on that knowledge and do something. You know, it's an investment in themselves, and you don't get anything until you start investing in yourself. There has to be that exchange. My life actually changed when I paid, I think it was quite a few thousand to start to learn how to write a book.
Yeah.
But I wasn't learning how to write a book. I was learning to be accountable for my actions. I was learning how I was going to get from here to there, but I had to invest in that, because when it's free, you ignore it. You think tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, that's the most, again, all of everything that you've said is amazing. But the being grateful and the investment in yourself, you're not paying for the product, you're paying for how it's going to make you feel. And how you're going to feel is that you're investing in yourself, you're accomplishing something. And it's so powerful, because I've spent lots of money on things before, and if I told people that weren't used to spending money on themselves, all professional stuff, even setting up the podcast studio and marketing that,
which is amazing, by the way.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. But all of that if people knew what I was spending, you're mad, you know, but because they would never do that themselves. That's a lack of investment in themselves.
But it will all come back to you if it hasn't already. And I know that money that I spent on that course, and I remember my son saying to me, it's a lot of money, are you sure? Because I had to borrow it from my children, or borrow it from the savings or wherever I could get it. Credit card, I made it happen. I remember I was the first one to start to say, I want this. Yeah. Because I was sick of the way things were not progressing. This was in London. I now I wanted this. I was already a coach, but there was more. I needed to do more. There was, I wanted my soul to be fed too. And I've had that back so many times over and over again. Yeah,
you do.
That amount I spent, I think it was £3,000, came back over and over again. Yeah. I can do that in one talk now, easily. And that's a minimum.
and that's because, one, your intentions are genuine, authentic. You've been willing to be very vulnerable, but you do see vulnerable people talking on this subject. And I've got to give you credit where credit's due. Yes, you are vulnerable, but the message isn't lost when you do have that moment. Sometimes the breakdown of the person means that they're not able to articulate, and you can see that they know that they've sort of broken it and they can't go back into it. But actually the way that you are vulnerable is in a way that's safe, because you're able to move through the moment, because obviously you've done so much work, not just on yourself, but so many others.
I'm a storyteller for sure.
You know, really
I think I read so many stories, so many sort of fables, that I became a very good storyteller. Yeah. I want people to go on that journey with me. I want them to feel and smell what I smell. And I think feelings are huge. When there's so many people that go on stage, you've probably seen so many people talk on stage, but if I say to you, what was the message, you probably won't know.
Because you can tell, there's nothing worse when somebody's, they've memorized something and they don't step into the emotion. You don't actually hear the quiver in the voice, or they might not mess up over a word. It's too polished. I like the gritty stuff.
I think because we don't feel... when we go to hear somebody speak, or when we're looking on YouTube for something, we're looking for something for us ultimately.
Yes, we are.
We're looking for a message that we're going to connect with. What do we want to listen to? I've had so many people say to me when they've listened to the viral video that I've got, it's 20 minutes long, I have ADHD, they say. I can't sit through anything, but I didn't move when I listened to this 20 minutes of your story.
Was that the Lad Bible one?
No, the Lad Bible one's not actually my viral one.
Right.
It's done really well, and
Yeah.
I'm really grateful. I have a good
Yeah.
relationship with them. But my viral one was actually on Facebook. I don't know how to use Facebook.
I love that.
So that's where it went viral. And I got up at 4:00 in the morning. I got out of bed. I was wearing like a black long t-shirt type thing, sleeping. I stuck on a jacket, sat there, sort of did this with my hair. And that was it. I thought, oh, I'm tired of this. I'm very, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm determined to do it. I promised I would do a campaign of 100 messages to the world. 100 people would take this message and spread this word honour killing. People would understand it's a real thing that needs to stop in my community.
Yeah.
So I was on number 97th and I was tired. And it's always a story. You've heard it so many times. Just before you want to give up, that's when you break through. I went away with my daughter shortly after. I was deflated. It was my birthday. We were in a cold place for some reason. She thought I'd like to go to somewhere where it's snowing. I really didn't. We sat in a hotel because it's so cold to go out. And she says, should we watch the video that your new one? I said, oh. I watched it. It was very gimmicky, the way they make these videos. I didn't like it, so I switched it off. Then I'm getting messages from people saying, you've gone to 1 million in literally half an hour. And I said, this can't be true. So we're looking for it because the internet's bad. And then by the time I searched and we came back, 3 days later, I'd hit 25 million. I didn't get any money for it, I'm just saying as well. But the message was getting there, and that's more than some countries. There's more people have watched that. But I've been recognised in New York. I've been recognised all around the world. But people don't come to me and say, "Oh my God, you're famous." They come to me and say, "Thank you."
Wow.
They say either they've recognised something in someone they know when it comes to domestic violence or just abuse, sexual abuse, that they didn't think they understood, or they talk about themselves, that something happened within their lives. They don't want to tell me, but they don't feel alone in that suffering. And we do feel alone in our suffering.
Yeah, you're right.
So when someone else is so vulnerable and they tell you exactly how they're feeling, suddenly you don't feel like a misfit. You don't feel like the weird one. You don't feel like the one that sticks out. You feel it's okay because it's not just happened to me. And you feel better.
And that's exactly what I needed as a child. And so now when I see anyone, be it you, be it anybody else, being really open and honest with their story, I think, thank God for those little girls that have got something that they, because for us, I don't know about for you, but the first time I ever saw anything was Ellen Bass, A Courage to Heal. And it was the first time I really thought, somebody else has gone through this, because people don't, especially when and that's why I just want to sort of loop back to that. And I know we haven't got long left, but you said something about people always say, why do you talk about your dad raping you? Well, there are little girls out there, as we said before, that are being raped or sexually abused by their dads or by their brothers, and it's happening in the home daily, if not,
it's more. Not just my culture either. I want people to understand it. They say, well, it's dirty culture, dirty Indians.
It happens in, it's happened to me.
I just want people to understand it happens in every culture.
It does.
I'm telling my story as a British Indian.
Yes.
As a Punjabi Indian.
And I'm telling a similar story, although not exactly the same, as a white British female. Yeah. It's happening in every cultures.
But I have an 8-year-old girl at the moment that I've been communicating with via Instagram.
Wow.
We have tried to track her down. We haven't been able to yet, but I'm slowly trying to get information out of her to find out which school she goes to. Once I find that information, she will be removed from the home she's in.
Yeah.
Because her grandfather every night comes in and he sexually abuses her. He has raped her. Now, if my video wasn't out there, if there wasn't anything out there, she would have nobody to go to.
No, you're right.
And even though I want to grab this girl and take her out right now, I have to understand at least I'm giving her someone to speak to. Someone that she can... She's told her mother has said, we don't talk about this, don't tell your dad. He'll be very angry. I think you're imagining it. I'm getting her to do things like stack things behind the door so that if he tries to come in, there's a noise, then maybe the dad will wake up, because it sounds like the dad will protect her.
Wow.
But she's so scared because she's gone to the one person she thought would help and she's not helping. So I'm slowly building up this relationship and saying to her, who do you play with, what are your teachers' names? Because I know that once I get that, I will put it into the right authorities' hands and also follow it up to make sure she's getting the support she needs. But had I stayed quiet, would she come forward to me? But there are hundreds and hundreds of girls like her. I've had messages from Australia. I was telling you earlier, I've had messages from all around Europe, all around the world. The places I don't even know exist are contacting me and saying, this happened to me too. So, yeah, we need to do that. We need stories like my own, not because I'm wanting the attention. I actually don't like it as much as people think I do.
No, I
because
know.
I'm a private person, and I want to protect my children, but I gave all of that up. The minute I started speaking, I gave it all up, and I put them at risk because of the cultural violence that comes with all of this, the whole threats and the society saying she's spoken against us, she's tried to bring the respect down, the honour, she's tainting our honour. But it's important, and I know that, and I know I survived for this reason. I should not be sat here with you.
No,
Ella.
no, I know. I mean, going back very briefly to your broken bones, blood everywhere.
I looked like something out of a horror film. I really did. And I can still see it in my own head, trying to get off that floor. I can't describe the pain I was feeling. But again, when there's too much for us to deal with and we can't deal with it, what did Nina do? She broke it up. She went from the floor to the door to the kitchen to the fence. And that's where my gorgeous, gorgeous dog gave me the nod to say, you got this. It takes one person, again, to change your life. Just someone to believe in you.
And that's the code. When I asked about the code, you've just described it there. It's that one step at a time, but having the intention.
Yeah, you've got to put the intention. It's like I say 6 months because I have this urgency, as I told you, but people don't. They think it'll wait.
Tomorrow is not promised to any of us.
There are people that started their journeys in a similar time that I did, and they contact me and say, well, how did you do it? I just carried on and you guys stopped. You took your foot off the pedal because you thought you could. Now I've taken my foot off the pedal and I'm just waiting, and I sit back and things just come to me. People ask me, can you? Will you? Before, I couldn't even get on your podcast because people were saying, no, don't want to talk about that. Don't want to talk about it.
I would never have said no to you.
I know you want to, but I'm just using it as an
I
example.
know what you mean. But
I was sending out 15 to 20 messages. If I say to someone who wants to be on a podcast, are you doing that? They're going to say, well, no, but can you help me?
Because they see how, can you help me? No, you have to do that. You have to put the hours in.
I've done it. I've
know
worked
you have.
hard, and I'm still working hard because, I can't think of anything better than leaving this world with these safe homes in place, and I've got to be in my bonnet. I've got to be in my bonnet.
You're going to do it. I mean, let me tell you, I know you're going to do it because that is an energy that it's indescribable.
But can you imagine it? Can you imagine? It makes me so happy to think about
I know.
it.
I can imagine it. I can imagine it. And
Even your eyes light up in a totally different way.
It's just...
Because we know how much it's needed.
Yeah, it's so needed. And it's
so possible.
It's so possible. It's so... I keep using the word magic. I don't really have another word for it. But you are magic. You are. And I think probably I overuse that sometimes and say, that we've all got magic in us. But on this occasion, I don't think I've ever met anyone more magical.
Oh, thank you.
It's true. I honestly, and I've met some incredible people. I really have. And I feel my life is a privilege because I get to meet incredible people every single day. But you are the most magical person I've ever had the privilege to meet. And honestly, when I reached out to you, I did think you'd say no because I've seen how much you've done. And I thought it's unlikely she's going to say yes, but I'm going to try.
Well, there you go. There's a lesson in that. If you don't try, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, that's
I said that to my children when you're I support my social media is not as big as yours. There's no comparison, but I support people that I know have been through things themselves. I support a non-profit in Mexico. Me and my daughter, we try to support them. I support people that need help like we once needed it.
Yeah.
But I knew about you before you even asked because you came up on my feed once. I think we must have some mutual friends or something. And if anyone sits and bears their soul about being a child and hurt by the very hands that are supposed to protect them, I can't not feel something.
Yeah.
So almost as soul sisters, as connected, to come here and just support you and your podcast, I was going to do that. I was never going to say no to you.
Thank you. That means a lot as well because you never know who's seeing what you're doing.
It's not about the views.
It's not about the views.
It's not about your social media following. It's not about that. It's about connectivity, having that, getting that person, having that energy speaks before, and you don't have to meet somebody to know that you're going to either get on with them or not going to get on with them.
That's really true. You just know instantaneously.
You do, and I really felt, of course. Why wouldn't I,
But you didn't have to. That's the point I'm trying to make.
We don't have to do anything, do we?
No.
But we choose what we want to do. And I would rather give time to you than to give it to mindless scrolling, which I don't do anyway. Or to and my daughter and I were talking on the way here about, being more respectful with our times as well and knowing where we want to be and where we don't want to be. But I'm happy to share that time with you.
Thank you. I mean, I will say this, and this is no offense to any of the other guests, but this has potentially been the most powerful episode for me. I've actually held back tears quite a few times in this because I didn't want to take the weight away from the story and from you as a person. And it's very rare that I'm moved to tears because obviously daily I'm hearing stories, unfortunately not too dissimilar to yours, through inboxes and through therapy, but there's something about the way you've turned it all around and the way you are so passionate about getting the money for the right reasons, building the legacy for the right reasons, putting yourself out there for the right. That's the bit that's making me go, wow.
You know, Ella, on my desk I have a photo to my right of my children when they were little. They're pulling silly faces. I mean, they're nothing like that now, but they're just so cute. And to my left, I have a photo of me when I was little. I've not got many photos. My son actually framed it when I was away one day. I'd gone to do a talk in America, came back and he'd put it in a frame. And the photo next to it is the photo of myself and Nikki Bliss, who gave me a place to stay when I was homeless.
Wow.
She reminds me that one act of kindness can change everything. Had she not given me a place to stay, my son, who knows where I would have been? She just gave me that place, that shelter, that safe place.
Wow.
My little me went through all of what she went through so that I could be the person I am today.
Yes.
And my children, they're always going to be my divine power to keep going, my motivation. But we need reminders, we need photos. People say you need vision boards. Of course you do, if you don't see it from what you're working towards.
So true.
But you also need to acknowledge your journey. Remind yourself if that's the person you once were, and you're going to do it for yourself too. So do I do it for little Nina that's looking so cute and I don't understand why nobody likes her? Of course I am. I'm doing it for her too. But I'm doing it for all of the other little Ninas, all of the other little Ellas, all of the other little girls whose names we don't yet know.
Yes.
That are suffering and need our helps. But boys too, I don't have an indifference. I help men. I am part, I advocate for a non-profit that helps men when they separate and they can't see their children because that's very traumatic for them.
Yes.
For anybody who's suffering, I don't have an indifference. I just want everyone to feel the love that I have and the freedom. There's a sense of freedom that I have. Like, I cannot describe, that money just cannot buy.
Yeah.
And that is a true gift that I hope in everyone's lifetime they get to just experience once, just once.
The most phenomenal, beautiful human being I've ever met, honestly. And thank you just isn't enough, because I think so many people get so much from this. I really do. Because again, to hear this part of your story is as powerful as hearing the beginning. And I know that you're going to do everything you've said you're going to do. So where can people find you, Nina?
So I'm known as London's life coach. I was given that name by somebody else, a whole group of people actually. I don't know if you remember Clubhouse, but it used to be a room that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And I used to go in there every evening when it was locked down, and people used to say, oh, London's life coach is here. So I ended up becoming London's life coach, and I love it. It's me down to a T.
Yeah.
So that's my social media handle. If you find my name.com, you can find me. But my non-profit is called End Honour Killings, but it doesn't mean we only deal with that. We're happy to help, and we have support groups that we provide for free once every month, or if I'm travelling, once every 2 months. People come on by Zoom. They don't have to have their cameras on. We do have a system where we filter, make sure there's the right people in there. But we're there to listen to you, and there's a safe place that you can come where you don't feel alone. And we give you advice, we help, we listen, we support. And I think that's what we need, support. So people can come to us and find us in that way.
Amazing. And that word is overused, amazing. But in this case, it's absolutely 100%
Thanks
true.
so much.
And I'm actually going to interview your daughter now.
You are?
So this is going to be, I'm really
double
excited.
Whammy.
Yeah, double whammy. Thank you for bringing her. Because
she sounds just like me, so that'll be very confusing to them.
For those that are listening, I'll be very clear to say this is Nina, this is. But no, thank you so much, honestly.
Thank you.